Hello, I have a little LogiX thing I have to do as a part of a larger project that I thought might make a good example video. What I need to do is convert a hexadecimal string to an integer value, which normally um, you wouldn't have to do that sort of thing yourself. There should be a LogiX node for it, but if you look at the parsing nodes and like a parse int, you see there's only a string input and an int output. There's nothing to specify what base you want it to parse from. So it'll work for an integer value, but if you put hexadecimal in it, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work if you do like a 0x specifier or anything. So we have to write our own hexadecimal parsing thing for now. And the first part of that would be to convert just one hex character 0 through f into an integer value. And I can think of three different ways to do that. The first is you could use a giant if statement, which is inelegant, so I'm not going to do that. I'm sure if you want to use a big nested if-else statement, you can figure that out yourself. The second is if you create a string and put the characters 0 through 9 and A through F in it consecutively. Like that. Index of substring. So this string we just created with a 0 through F is our lookup table. So we use that as the input. And then the part we're looking up is the single character that we want to convert to a value. Okay, so 0 is a value of 0 because it's at location 0. 5 has a value of 5 because it happens to be at location 5. And that will work for the letters too. So A has a value of 10 because it's at index 10 in the string. So that's one easy way to do it. Obviously, if you entered something invalid in the string, like you had some characters in front of it, then 0 is now returning a value of 3 because it's at index 3. So you have to be careful that you have nothing except 0 through F in your character lookup. But I think there's another way to do this that might be even a little more efficient. I'll just set this aside in case my other way doesn't actually work. So if I'm remembering my ASCII table correctly, I believe that 0 through 9 are followed by A through F, hopefully capitals, not lowercase. Actually, I'll look that up. Let me see. Okay, there's our ASCII table. So was I remembering right that 0... Nope, I was remembering wrong. 0 through 9 are not followed consecutively by the letters. I was thinking we could take the character code and subtract, would that be 48 from it, and get a value? But that isn't going to work because they're followed by, what is that, colon, semicolon, less than, equals, greater than. So unless we wanted to do a separate operation for the numbers and the letters, this won't work. I'm just going to stick with this string lookup thing. So that gives us one character converted over to a decimal number, which I'm just going to put this into a blueprint, organize things. It wouldn't matter if this was a small project, but as I said, it's part of a larger one. So this is going to convert a hexadecimal character to an integer. It's going to have an input of, well, I'd like it to be a character. I don't know if I want it to be character or string. Let's just go with string for now. And just thinking, the way this fits into the larger project, it may be convenient to give it an index within the string that you want it to decode at. Hex string. Character index. I think I had more trouble typing when you're watching me. So this thing here, which is our lookup string, I'll just stick it in there, take our index of string. We're going to have to get the single character that we actually want, which is a, well, if we're actually working with characters, there's a get character node, but since we're working with strings, it will be a substring. So we're always going to take one character, at the given index from the given string, pull out the one character we're actually interested in, although, is that right? Yeah, that's right. And we're going to use that to perform our lookup in our little lookup string here. Just organize things so they're not overlapping. Not that that actually matters. And we're going to output a value, integer. And that should be it. So I just pack that into one of these blueprint things. So if I give it a string, like 1, 2, F, and I'm trying to get the value of just one character in that string. Okay, index 0 is 1, index 1, wait a second, what did I do there? 0 is value 1, that's right, index 1 is value 2, index 2, I can't count, which is the F, gives us a value of 15, and you can't see that, can you, because my head's in the way. Sorry, bad camera work here. Anyway, that's looking up one character. So if we want to decode a bunch of hexadecimal things that are in one string to get like a 4-byte number or something, we need a loop. That's simple enough. Take a flow, for loop, except my tracking glitched there, so I got a timer. For loop, we need a string input. That's going to be our, what do you think? Should we put this in another blueprint? Let's put this in another blueprint. What should we call this one? What were the parsing nodes called? Like parse int? Call it a parse hex string to int. Slightly awkward name, but oh well. So as input, it'll take a string. I think we're just going to parse the whole string. I don't think we want to do an index of, because if we do index of, we're also going to have to do length if it was part of a longer string with other stuff in it. We'll just have it parse the whole string. I'm going to give it an output of an integer. Call it val. Try to call it val if I could type. Third time's the charm, perhaps? There we go. Okay, so that's our input string. We need to be able to get the length of that string, which is just a string length node. And that's the length that we're going to loop over. Oh, the for loop is impulse based, so we're going to have to give it an impulse to tell it to start working too. So we're going to loop over the string, and what we're going to do is, let's see, we already made our single character one take an index, so we don't have to worry about getting the substring because this is designed to take an index. What else took these up? So that's the thing that starts it. We're going to get the, there's the current index, which is what we will pass to this thing. And of course, it's taking the string as input. So that will loop over our input string, looking at each character, from left side to right side, calculating the value of that one character. Now we're going to need a variable because we need to accumulate the value as we calculate the value of each character. So call that an integer. The first thing we're going to have to do is make sure we initialize that value to 0 when the loop starts, which means we need to write integer value 0, and that will be on the loop start there. So first thing when the loop starts is initialize accumulated value to 0. I don't know where I'm putting the accumulated value. Okay. And then on each loop iteration, we're going to have to do two things. The first thing is any previous accumulated value we need to multiply by 16, or left shift by 4 bits. Same thing. For the sense of clarity, I'll just do a multiply, even though that is less efficient. I don't think we have to worry about the difference between a left shift and a multiply when we're doing LogiX here. It's not the most performant thing anyway. So that would be a math. No, I'm sorry. That would be a operator. If we do have a multiply, I'm just going to detach that arrow so that, oops, where'd my arrow go? There. So, sorry, I'm a little scattered here. I didn't plan this out ahead of time or anything. So on the loop iteration, we're going to want to first multiply the accumulated value by 16 and then add the new value to it, which means I think, let's see, I'm just thinking if we need a sequence. I don't think we need a sequence because these write nodes have an impulse that they can fire when they're done. I think on loop iteration, we're going to take the current value times 16 because we're parsing hexadecimal, so each position is worth 16 rather than 10 in a base 10 system. Oops. I think I got my types confused there. All right, why is this wanting to convert? Hang on. Integer times. Now I moved that one, I didn't mean to. By the way, how well can you see that? Like I said, I'm not doing very good with the camera work today. And now it's gone and snapped itself there. All right, I guess it can stay there. Okay, there's our current value in the variable times 16, and we need to write that back into the variable. So the first thing we'll do is take that variable times 16, write it back into the variable. We have multiplied the value by 16. Now we need to add the newly parsed value to it. You could also do a bitwise AND, which is what I'd normally do for this sort of thing, but for clarity, I will avoid the bitwise operators here. Keep looking at math. I want operators, not math. Kind of a odd distinction, in my opinion, but why did that attach to the wrong spot? Come on. Okay, take the current value, add the next character's value to it, and write that back out into our variable again. And I think I will just move these arrows so that they're not cluttering up things so much. Where am I putting this? That's not a very good location, is it? Or if it's over there. And that happens after we have multiplied it by 16. I kind of wish when you resize this, if you could make the stuff stay in one corner, but it grows on all sides. Nonetheless, the blueprints are handy. Okay. Why don't you go over here? Okay. That ought to do it. Let's test it. There's the input. There's the output, which I did not want snapped to the blueprint. And here's the impulse that makes it actually do something. So if we give it a value of 5, we get nothing out. Okay, that's not working. Well, let's debug it. Well, it's getting the value correctly. That's good. Oh, you know what it is? I didn't connect my variable to the output, so the output is always going to be 0, of course. That was really stupid. That hardly required debugging. That was just... I forgot the connection, which has now messed up this and gotten everything overlapped. Let's see, I think I can use a relay just to neaten it up visually, can't I? There we go. All right, let's try it again. Yeah, it's working now. Okay, try that again. So 5 works. Let's make sure an A gives the value of 10. Has to be a capital A, which I obviously don't want to have to input capitals, so let me add a... I think there's a string capitalize. There is. That actually should have been in this one here. Okay, let's add a capitalized node in here. Okay, now that we added a capitalized node, lowercase a is interpreted as 10. That's good. Now if I do 1, 0, that should give us a value of 16, right? Hexadecimal 1, 0 is decimal 16, and it does. So if I give us a value of 1a, that should be 26. Yep, okay. If I give us a big value like AB 2, 0, That should give us some big number, I don't know what. And it does. So, yep, there you go. Hexadecimal string to integer. Not really too difficult.